on Drivewire. This is a show where I interview artists essentially about their art and all of that as well. But really, I focus on how can we help artists who are new or talented but don't have, I would say, don't understand how to turn it into a business yet. You know,
Yes.
I'm talking to the artist who has talent, and it doesn't have to be music. I play guitar. You might see some headstocks of guitars behind me there, but like I'm a musician, but I want this show to be all encompassing to, design and dance and music and but I can't give someone talent. But maybe if I ask the right questions to people like Ziggy Alberts, right, then I can pick out kind of what makes someone be able to go from, doing music on the side and working on at Starbucks to doing music or doing art or doing photography or whatever. So I want to kind of pick your brain about stuff like that, if that's all right with you.
Fantastic. That's literally, yep. That was the very beginnings of my music was when I started playing music and writing music was at this exact same moment. I was collecting glasses at a music bar and I was making coffee in the mornings midweek for a cafe. So that's spot on. And I'd love to at least just share what I went through.
Yeah. Can you give the story kind of like where did it start? Like, how old were you when you knew you wanted to do music?
So I had maybe a different story for what people might expect, because I actually wasn't hard out believing I was going to be a musician. As far as it wasn't like this, I was into creative writing. So I was actually pursuing like freelance journalism with surfing, and I was doing different article pieces as like in surfing magazines from about 13 till 16, 17. I was doing these freelance pieces from time to time. I still do them now for different mags. But that was kind of my creative passion.
So right.
When I graduated, cool. Which in school, I was homeschooled actually for up until year 10. And I did my senior years, graduated, got all my marks. And that was the moment where my parents bought me a guitar. So it was funny because through school, I did 2 maths, 2 sciences, senior English and health, maybe. As far as there was no big creative subjects at all. It was fully it was maths and science basically. And so a bit of a trip that, my parents bought me a guitar knowing I enjoyed writing and knowing I was creative outside of school and education.
Sure.
And my writing naturally progressed from that surf journalism and I guess blogging and stuff like that into songwriting. So it wasn't super early that I knew. It's actually 10 years. Like this summer, it's 10 years when I was, first learning how to play guitar. So it's been, so it was just 10 years ago when I picked up a guitar and was.
So you were I'm guessing 16, 17?
Yeah, 16.
There? Yeah. Okay, cool. That's a similar timeline for me. Like when I was about 8 or 9, my parents bought me a guitar, and I laugh to this day because they didn't know. They bless their hearts. They're awesome parents, but the space between the strings and the fretboard, like I can put my whole human adult finger underneath. Like it was just such a terrible guitar, and so. I look at this guitar now and I'm like, no wonder I quit. Like I quit when I was 8. I hated it. This guitar sucked. I was like, I can't play this. There's every guitar player has the strongest fingers on the face of the planet. I'll never be able to do that. I'm out. And then when I was 16, I picked up a guitar again that actually was somewhat decent and you could use it. And that's when I started getting into playing and the music. So you started writing songs. How was that for you? How was the process? Did it take you a long time? Obviously, you're still probably going through it a little bit as far as getting better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're still learning. Like with songs, it's a big journey
How many albums do you have?
So now I think this upcoming album might be, oh my goodness, it could be the 5th. As far as if I go through, we've had Feels Like Home was 2012. That was like an EP on SoundCloud. And then Made of Water was 2013. That was an 8-track, almost an album. Not sure if you call it EP or an album. And Then Land and Sea was 2014, and that was like maybe 14, 15 tracks. 4 Feet in the Forest was 2016, and that was 4 or 5 songs. Lapstraight on the Sun was a 10-track album in 2018, and we're about to go and release Searching for Freedom, which is a 12-track. Last year, we also released a lot of songs. Did a collaborative EP with a rap duo. Did a full acoustic album of my popular prior work. So yeah, I've been pretty heavy on songwriting and releasing for the majority of, almost as soon as I could play chords, I was interested in songwriting.
That's awesome.
And my guitar playing still today, and my guitar playing back then was very basic as far as like I was learning chords and covers, and at that same time trying to write songs. And so the songwriting thing's been very integrated into my just musical ability journey kind of thing, which is really cool. It's really nice to look back, and I think that's something I would highly recommend to any artist, is that you will play better and you will be able to perform the song better 3 weeks after you record it, for sure. But it's better the song is out in the world, I think, than
100%.
You learn more by it being out there with the people than you do by holding on to it and trying to perfect it, because you learn a lot by just releasing songs, reflecting upon them. Then the next stuff, I just think it improves immensely through that kind of process for me anyway.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I look at all art and try to learn my art through other art. And someone who is an artist who I really love, who's dead now, is George Carlin, very famous comedian. And I was watching another famous comedian, Louis C.K., speak about George, and he said, I had been working on the same hour of content on stage for like 10 years and redoing it in clubs. And every year, George had a new hour that he was putting out. And I spoke to George in a, like, I don't know, it was a book signing or at a bar. And I asked him what to do. And George said, throw your hour out and start over. And he realized every single year, as soon as this guy cuts a special, he dropped it and started writing new music or new, see, that's how intertwined it is. He started writing new comedy. And every year it got deeper and deeper and funnier because he knew how to write better jokes. He knew how to layer them. He was more topical. Like, by releasing it, you finish the cycle, and it'll freeze you up to start a new cycle of moving on to something else.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. 100% agree. And some people, play music and write music for themselves, and that's awesome. That's awesome. But as far as when we're talking about people and their release strategies, I think that's pretty spot on as far as that comedian was saying, just because it's also pretty freeing as well, personally, to like let those songs go out and be in the world kind of thing. And you just learn, you're spot on. You learn so much from it, and it does make room for new cycles and new ideas and new inspirations.
Okay. And now when you're not on lockdown, personally, you're taking this Ziggy Alberts thing and you're doing you're touring. Is that what you're doing to make ends meet?
Yeah, so I was primarily a touring artist, as far as I was very much like a road dog, as we say, and very blue collar. Just came up through playing small cafe shows and then playing on the street a lot, being a busker. And that turned into some backyard shows and house shows, which turned into community halls, which turned into small venues. And so, yeah, the probably like last 7 years or something was from 2013 to 2000, to the beginning of 2020. Those 7 years were pretty heavy, just playing, as many shows as I could. And, by 2019, we played 120 something shows that year all around the world. And so that was definitely the model, and really lucky through this last year or two that the music has been heard and shared enough around the world that like we have been able to, we're running our record label, and it's not just relying on touring, which is like a new exciting phase, because we're fully independent, family run. And so that is an exciting new phase. And yeah, last year, through all this, we actually just last week, we've been working on it for a while, but just last week we formed an independent publishing house alongside the record label. And we released my first poetry book. So that's been, other places I've been looking to go creatively, just naturally. And it's this.
Can we dig into that? Can we go into that?
Please, absolutely.
You said you have a family-owned label. So what's the name of the label?
Common Folk.
Common Folk. I love that, because your music, which I actually really like and I resonate with, it does have a sort of a folk vibe to it. Would you say that's pretty fair?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the publishing house is like Common Folk Writing, or
Common Folk Publishing.
It is. Okay, cool. So we kept that. That's very smart. So you said the label is not, I'm sure, although you're focused on touring, but like it's not focused. Like, how are you during COVID? How are you dealing with that as a label?
Yeah, so we actually were so busy with work through this whole last year, which again I say is really fortunate, particularly as fully independent team. In
the entertainment industry.
Yeah, one artist. Being just everyone's working full time on my creative stuff, and so we through last year just released a lot. As far as we released maybe 3 singles last year, 1 EP and 1 live album. So like that was what we did last year, along with working on the new 12-track album, and all of our post-production stuff from the touring. So releasing the live videos from all the shows we did. And so I worked out there was about 40 different tracks we were working across last year.
Wow.
Alone through the year, from recording them through to all the way to getting them out mastered and ready to go. So
all 40 tracks, is that Ziggy Alberts?
Yeah, as far as 40 tracks being like, we had all the post-production for the live recordings from the tour, from the Laps Around the Sun World tour. So that maybe made up for like 14 songs or something like that are going out on YouTube. And then the new album was 12 tracks. And then we had the EP, and then we had the live album. And so there is crossover between being some of the same tracks, but none of them were the same files. I think there was about 40 separate files that were getting worked on.
Wow.
So we were really, really busy, along with getting this publishing house started up and being prepared to put out this poetry book, which we just released literally like a week or two ago. That we were genuinely very, very busy through all of 2020, which is really, really lucky, as far as I was hugely busy with recording and writing, and the whole team was busy with putting out what we were doing,
Yeah. So when you're making this music, do you have any sort of revenue stream? Like, is it like buy the song for $1? Is it they come straight to your website? Is it donationware? Like, how are you turning it into a revenue stream during COVID?
Good question. I think there is really good options, particularly depending on the size of what you're doing. Because, for example, like when I was first coming up, and CDs and busking was really very popular. Like it was a perfect kind of space there. And so long story short, that's how you were making, getting a new van or paying for the next CDs or booking the flights, was through that live. You were selling CDs live. And at that time, it was still really popular to buy songs in iTunes and stuff like that. Right. So it is definitely a new place now for artists, as far as, it's definitely a new place for artists and how you do it when you're first starting up. There's something called Patreon in Australia that I know a couple of artists have had really good success with, grassroots startup style. And I know that there's Bandcamp and the SoundCloud and different tiers. But for us at the moment, we're lucky that there's enough momentum and enough take up around the world that like we have Apple and we have Spotify, and those things are ticking over in a way that we have been able to not be touring last year, and everyone's still working and we're still totally making moves. So that's just a to be honest, I think that's just when things get to a certain point, they have their own momentum.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah, so look, it's at the moment, it's literally it's like Spotify and Apple, and then we have, I mean, amongst the other ways that people listen to music, which is many, and we did a lot of merch last year as far as from our international touring and following. Like we did do a lot of merch last year, and different vinyl releases and stuff, and that's kind of, yeah, man, that's how we've done it.
Yeah, so you released a lot of content and allowed people to purchase it. Do you also do like t-shirts and stuff like that on a website? You have that going on?
Yeah, we've had all sorts of stuff over the years. So we've done everything from like our t-shirts to little lyric books to I mean, the next merch range we're doing is incredible. I can't talk much about it, but for the new album, like we've really gone a lot further.
The new album is called, you said it was Searching for Freedom?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I got a message, like a private link, which I've listened, and I know I'm not supposed to go into it, so I will not. I'll keep it. All I'll say is it's dope. I like it. Okay, it's cool. But I think it said it's called Embargoed, or maybe that was a song on it that I misread. So, but it's called Searching for Freedom. It's out March 19th. I'm excited to I'll buy it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll buy it. It's awesome.
Awesome, man. Now, like I said, we've had, particularly as an fully independent company, we have relied a lot on our very loyal grassroots crew. As far as that's definitely been something over the years. Didn't always, for example, it wasn't like I was always doing this well with streaming. It wasn't like I was always a popular artist streaming, but
of course.
But because I was a touring artist and I'd made a lot of impressions on people as far as with the live shows, compared to my status in media or industry or anything like that, like before we had radio, before we had PR, when we were still just like a 2 or 3 person team, I was playing in Australia to 3,000 people sold out in some cities, and so
that's awesome.
that was due to having such a loyal core group of people that had come up with me from busking to these shows, and that I think continues to be why we have had the success and support we've had through last year, is because we've got that really core group of people that we've connected with over the years.
You have a really cool attitude of doing. Like I love when I hear an artist who started out busking and is now not, like they're doing something else, right? Like so many people, I don't think they would say this, but they act like this, and actions speak louder than words. They act like they're above busking, right? Or they don't busk, or they don't do it. But you, on the other hand, you're like I'm fucking doing this. Pardon my language. Hopefully you're cool with it. But you're just like, I'm doing, like, you just go and you do. And then I love the way you said it. Like a snowball starts small and then you have a big one when it rolls down the hill. Like you do these small shows, and then maybe you have a crowd when you're busking, and then maybe you're in a small pub or a bar, and then you're going to a community hall, and then it's like a small gig, and then you have 3,000 people. So I love that, first of all. When you were building the audience, how did you interact with your people? Like, I'm sure it was kind of organic, but what did you do to gather the momentum?
I think one of the things I truly think is that the first 20 or 30 people that you play to, like some of my first house shows, for example, when I was turning up to turning up to and fans were hosting shows, or people who listened to my music at that time, often friends as well, would host my shows in different towns. And so when you play those first 20 or 30 people, like that's as an important a show as you'll ever play in your life, I think, because that's like literally the seed of it all. And because if you play a genuine show to people, not like doesn't mean perfect show, but if you play a genuine show and you're there and you connect with people, next time they might tell 2 of their friends, and maybe next time there's 60 people, and maybe after that maybe there's 100 odd people next time, and maybe after that there's a couple hundred or 300, and that's where I think there's a lot of questions about how to get from 0 to like last year the biggest show we played in Australia was a sold out show in Melbourne that was 12,500 people.
Wow.
And that city that started with playing a show to 100 people, years ago. And so I think definitely not limiting or keeping in. My honest belief is that like those first shows you're playing, those super core shows to 20, 30, 40 people to 50, 100 people, those shows are as important, if not more important, because they're just like the building blocks of your own performance and your own career and your connection with people. I think as far as the connection with people, for me, was always very much like we were doing it, because that was what seemed to be true to me. And it was true that we were doing it. And when I mean we were doing it, there was one show in particular where we got kicked out of the venue that we're supposed to play in. It was at like a yoga studio, and the lady freaked out and she told she was going to call the police. This is like an acoustic show. And
who calls the cops on an acoustic show?
Yeah, at a yoga studio, right?
What? Hold on. I want to hear the story. Why was she mad?
To this day, we don't know.
Okay.
We don't know, because it was something really last minute, and I think maybe she got freaked out because there was because there was like 50 people there or something. To this day, like she just lost it kind of thing. And
she cracked under pressure.
She cracked under pressure. We're already shoes off. We're in the yoga studio. We're all pumped, about to play the show. And I went to go give refunds. I went to go to the ATM and just give people refunds for their tickets, just because I was like, there's nowhere, like we can't. We were playing the yoga studio because the venue I was supposed to play didn't have an indoor option. They canceled on me last minute. So it's like, we've tried to do this show twice.
Wow.
And give you guys your money back. And someone put their hand up and said, we'll host the show. We live 2 or 3 streets over. So the people who've come to a show literally helping me get gear out in the pouring rain. There's people in my vans, people down the stairs doing like pass the parcels. We all get to someone's house like 3 streets over, set up and play again. Set up everything to play for a third time that night, like set up. And that story kind of like tells about how ingrained I felt it was, like it was us, not me and them. And that was just true for me. That was true of like that was true of how I felt about it all. And so that's been a big, for me, that would describe in kind of one sentence, that it felt like it was always, we were achieving things together. Me and the crowd, we were achieving things. And ultimately, that's what has shaped a lot of importance in where I played and what sort of venues and decisions we made around, a lot of different decisions about, can this be a positive environment for people to be in? Can this show help foster some sense of unity and genuine connection between all of us as strangers? That's something I think is really important with music, and it was important to my why I was doing it all.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. So it was an us thing, and a lot of the people who I ask a very similar question, it ends up being like, how fast or how much can I actually connect with these people on a, not like fakely, but on a genuine level. So that's really cool. That's a great story, man. All of the fans, like I'm imagining kind of like the line of people putting out a fire back in the old days, like with the buckets of water going by and all your but there's trust there, right? Because how many times do you hear someone getting gear stolen at a show, but here you are allowing your fans to touch it, to move it along, to help you. That's a really cool story, and I can see how if you were treating people like that, how they would come back with some friends to a show.
Even CDs and tickets in those times, it was like, hey, like if you want a CD, like just put $10 in the in the box. Like you get it, like you get a CD, I trust you, go for it. Like that was kind of the level of you take, and most of the time you take chances on that. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, and for me it was more like 999 times out of 1,000. It never went the other way, because if you offer that kind of sense of trust, and it just that was just how it was for me, truly. And I think that even for big artists, if you look at like how it's possible for people to tour, even like the bigger the shows get, sure, there's like the internal team that are undoubtedly all the internal team that are making it all happen, but then it's possible because people buy a ticket. as far as if nobody bought a ticket, then no matter how good the internal team is or how good I want to play, or so in that sense, the people do make everyone's career happen, is what I think.
Absolutely.
That's so I'm very power to the people. That's the hippie in me.
100%, man. 100%. And when did you release the poetry book? What's it called?
Luckily, I have an album here on the desk. I have a copy here on the desk. It's called Brainwaves.
Love that.
Yeah, buddy.
Is
So,
that a thumbprint that looks like a division, like a brain?
so that's an excellent pickup. This is going to actually be on the front cover of the new album as well, and
Dope.
it's half a thumbprint and half a tree print. And so we
Cool.
nicknamed it. Yeah, we nicknamed it the Life Print, and yeah, two parts of the same whole, but it looks like this it looks like a brain, which is why it was also could look like two hemispheres of a brain, which
Well,
is
that's
really
what
cool.
so I saw that, and then I saw kind of the circuit, and I was like, it looks like a thumbprint that's been cut, but half is a tree and half is a thumbprint.
Yeah.
That's super cool, man. Are you taking I wasn't able to spend enough time or as much time as I would have liked listening through your music. Where is your inspiration coming from a lot of this? Are you I know you said you were writing about surfing. Is a lot of it for you inspired by nature? Is that what or where do you get your inspiration?
Yeah, I'd say with this, it's changed over the years for sure. I definitely get inspired by my environment as far as what was inspiring me early on was living in my van, which I lived in my van for years, and living in my van and being on the coast.
Jessica was the band's name.
Yep, my 1992 Hiace. Good thing. Saw me around a lot of the country.
That's so funny, man.
So that was inspiring me, and those records and those first, beautiful experiences of being, a touring musician, living out of a van, that kind of new phase in your life. And then there was songs that have been inspired by the hardcore touring that I did. So inspired by a blend of, I guess, nature and the city. And now I'd say that aside, I'm inspired to write about things in a way I think people might pick up and they might care, as far as talking about different environmental or humanitarian issues or civil rights stuff. Sounds a bit serious, but things that I'm inspired by my observations of society, along with my internal exploration. So I'm picking it up from everywhere.
Yeah, that's really cool. And sometimes, for me, when I'm writing musically, I would I'm almost not even the one who's doing it. I'm just kind of picking it up. I like the words that you said, you're picking it up from everywhere. It just hits you, and you're about to make moves on the guitar, but you don't know what the moves are about to be, but you can feel that they're about to be good. And you just for me, I tag along with myself as I write the music, and sometimes it turns out pretty ballin'.
I think one of the ways I've always described it is you're there catching song. You're and I think that kind of describes a little bit how songs feel sometimes, because you do just have that, like you described, that feeling, and you can go, I'm going to write this song in this progression, and you can do that, but there is these beautiful moments as well where you kind of, I guess that's where inspiration comes in, that weird awesome those awesome moments of inspiration come through, and they kind of spark all this, and it's pretty magical. It's not something that's it's not mathematical. It is magical and hard to put words on.
Yeah, you can't push it, right? It's like there's a saying here on this side, is like pushing a wet noodle, it doesn't go anywhere. And if you try, game over. You're not getting it. It's not the right mood. And that mood, it might hit you at 1:30 a.m. and you have to and now you're up for until the morning because that's the mood. Here it is. But that's you catch the song, and then you have 12,500 people buying tickets to your show because you caught it, right? I think that's very interesting. In terms of your family run publishing house and your family run record label, are you going to turn that outwards for other people and other bands and other writers as well? Or is that going to be but is that going to mostly be a propping up of the Ziggy Alberts act? Like, what's your move there?
I think long term for sure, as in right now, it's hard to think about right now turning it outward just because of how busy everyone is working on one artist. But
right. Yeah,
that is definitely the
2 or 4.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're a big handful. But that's definitely the long term plan for sure. As far as to kind of, we have got a solid footing in music now. You know, for what it's worth. Had a couple of drinks, seen a couple of things. And the secret to music being, you know, we still are just figuring it out along the way. But we've got our footing and we've had a lot of experiences as a team that would be valuable to others at some point. And that's where I hope to get to with the publishing and author work. And we'll see it just really, there's so many other areas we work in that you could categorize, like in our merch development and handling, or in touring, promoting, and all these things. So it's just going to come down to how we do that and still have, you know, good quality lifestyle. And what we have right now is like a super core team, as far as like a fairly intimate team, and that's valuable. And so the short answer is yes. Not, I don't think the next couple of years, but I think that's definitely like the future of where, once we've got the tools, that will be awesome to offer to other people, to offer an independent solution where you know, remain autonomous over what you do.
And your relationships too, right? Like there are, you know, if you are helping an artist who's, you know, busking house shows, bars, if they're at bars, well, you have like probably realistically hundreds of bars all over Australia, if not the world, that you could like, hey, this is someone who I think would fill your venue. Hey, this is someone. So you could even help to book shows and leverage that you've done, you know, naturally over the 10 years that you've been doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's all of it's available. It's just going to be about how it ties into that, the balanced lifestyle of, you know, of work and play, and and just seeing what the people who are driving it, you know, driving stuff, as far as the like managers, the head of marketing, my older sister Annika, who I co-founded a label with, and Tim, who's on accounts, my dad, who's on like accounts and back end stuff. It just really is going to see what everyone's passion will be, but they are very passionate about the opportunity that it could be offered, that better solutions could be offered to more people.
That's very cool that you get to work this close with your family. You mentioned having you said a balance between work and fun, but it seems to me like you guys are just all fun and work at the same time, and it's family. Like there's no balance at all.
It's chaos. Yes, it's absolutely. It's very integrated.
I'm picking up on that very much. So I am. I like that. I love it. Where can I get a copy of the book? I wanna buy it.
Man, you can get a copy on ziggyalberts.com.
Ziggyalberts.com.
That's at the moment, we're just running it through there. I mean, we've got Common Folk Publishing as like a page as well, but it makes a lot of sense for our demographic at the moment that it exists on. Yeah, it is totally integrated, you know, as far as people who are interested in music might be interested in poetry and vice versa. So I think something that's definitely important for people who are up and coming, you know, amongst your like strategy and things like that is also kind of one thing I think would be good for anyone who's up and coming listening, is just really understanding why you're doing it, and that will shape a lot of your decisions. Because maybe you're doing it because you just want to, maybe you're doing music because you want to be the ultimate shred lord on guitar, and your performance aspect might be more about doing YouTube videos, or maybe it's more of like an inward thing and not about performing out to people. And that's awesome, and that will shape a lot of decisions you make then. So I think it's really one thing that was cool about 6 years ago was realizing what I was doing it for. And that helps a lot about all the decisions you make after that, you know?
Yeah, I do. What kind of things would you say, like, do you have any examples of decisions that changed when you realized what you were doing it for?
Yeah, when I realized I wanted to keep doing very community based stuff and wanted to be able to be hosting all ages shows and wanted good environments for people to be experiencing music in, that all shaped the venues that I chose. I played a lot of odd venues comparative to what you might do. You know, when I first went to Europe, I played house shows and community halls and cafes, which was at that time not the popular direction, but it shaped a lot of where I wanted to play and how and why. And the sort of touring that I did in Australia was, you know, based on going to a lot of different small towns and being involved in the regional areas and doing beach cleanups and doing beach cleanups and different community events alongside the shows. And all that just shaped so much was my personal interest. Even like I just enjoyed doing the regional touring because I got to go do a lot of surfing in a lot of different parts of the country.
You
And
did
that,
beach cleanups with your shows.
yeah, after the show, sometimes the next morning in different places, we'd go and do beach cleanups, which was really, really cool.
That's pretty cool. So I think there's something there that, you know, an artist could take away, because in Canada, the I would say the baseline that people think is you get your band together, you knock on doors at bars, you start on a Tuesday when no one gives a shit anyways, you get to a Friday slot, then you start having more people. But I think a lot of people are missing, like, there is infinite creativity of where you can do a show. And I love the idea, especially because in Australia, I bet, like, I have never been there. It's on my bucket list. I'm totally going to go. Like, the beaches are such a huge part of your culture. And doing a beach cleanup, that I think that's really clever, because then you get the people who are there for the cleanup or for the cultural part or for the communicative part of, okay, I'm gonna go, I believe in cleaning this stuff up, and then, oh, this guy's playing some folk music and it actually sounds really nice, or maybe the cleanup before or after, or even they get to know you and they're picking up garbage beside you, but you're like talking to them and they're like, yeah, me and Zig are friends now. Like, that's
Absolutely
cool. I can see how you built a big following doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just because it's easy when it's certainly easier when things tie into your like personal value sets, as far as, like, for example, maybe like literally or what I'm saying is that you might be like, I want to be a rock and roller and I'm a rock and roll band. It's like, okay, well, maybe don't go play house shows. As in, you're going to do different things, and that's amazing, and that will shape the decisions you make, you know. But for me, there was different opportunities and festivals that I turned down and will still turn down now, because they don't put the people that I care about playing music to in a good environment. So that you have to so that might affect who's on the lineup, where would I be slotted in, all those sort of questions that just give you the best chance to connect to people, you know.
That's a really interesting thing. So you're saying you only play music if the environment is good. That's where you draw the line.
If it allows like opportunity to really connect with people. So example, busking isn't like, it's not like it's the best sound or the nicest environment at times, but it's very honest and open, and it's like right there. You're right there with people. And so then I think that's a fantastic environment. Whereas like some big festivals, if you're slotted between a rock and roll act and after maybe like a death metal band, which is awesome, but if you're slotted between those two, just by nature of, you can have the best speakers, the biggest PA, the awesome stage, but just by nature of the different crossover of people, it might not provide a good environment.
Context matters. Context matters, right? Like in that environment, the folk show is going to be where everyone finds the washroom and grabs a beer and then comes back to the stage. And it's nothing wrong with folk, and it's not about your quality. It's just
not at all.
The context matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And vice versa, as far as it's like, is this the right place for a rock and roll show? It's like, or is this the right place for a psych, a psych rock kind of show? And it's like, maybe not. And that's where you just give yourself a better, chance. You give everyone a better chance to enjoy the experience. So for me, in folk music, the house shows and the small, intimate things were a much better thing for me than the big bar, because they allowed communication and talking points and all those sort of things.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really cool. This is there has been a lot to pull out here. I really like this conversation. I'm learning a lot from you, and I think that, when we get this out and cut this in the right way, there's going to be a lot to help artists like figure out and learn from what you're doing. This is cool. I have a question for you. It's my favorite question to ask people. Okay, here we go. I get a million different answers. There's no wrong answers. It's my favorite question. Here we go. Aside from playing music, okay? Can't say playing music, can't say guitar, can't say your voice, can't say writing. What do you think the number one or two skills like to help you get to where you are has been?
One that comes to mind is meditation, because it helps keep me relatively sane. So that's what I'd say, one practice that's definitely helped me a lot.
Really good answer. How would you say it's helped you?
Perspective, and being able to bring like a really being able to just perspective. If you're a creative person, or if you're just like any other normal human being with a big brain and crazy consciousness, it's definitely something just, it helps me keep everything in perspective and offer the best of what I can, to the day. Meditation, and what I'd say as well, I'd say skill that's helped me of, which one would I pick? Something I've been doing a lot of the last year, that's been, I don't know if it counts as a skill, but as a practice, is this breathing technique and cold exposure thing called the Wim Hof method.
I know Wim Hof. I haven't done it. I'm too afraid. Canada's freezing cold, man. I don't know if I'm cool enough to go out there. But I see people do it in like Finland and stuff, and I know they're like got to be just as cold as Canada. So maybe I'm just a pussy.
Yeah. So no, it's definitely daunting. So that's what I've also been practicing this last year outside of meditation.
How have you found that? Would you recommend it?
Absolutely. It's been hilarious. I mean, it's pretty funny to say like, hey, you want to come over and hop in my freezer? Because, that's now me and my friends. My friends are like buzzing to like, hey, like we reckon like a little freezer session this week. I'm like, yeah, come over. So we're sitting in a big 700-liter freezer full of, ice and like it's, only like 2 degrees of water. But that's also been incredible. I think both those practices, which people are super, already around the world, so many people are involved in them, but definitely I'd say those are two things that I guess they're more practices maybe than skills, but what you get from them definitely, both of those practices have been really important, particularly in the last year.
Yeah, I think those are really, really good answers. And that was an excellent answer, because I usually get duplicates. Like networking is an answer that I get a lot. And although it's always the right answer, I just get it a lot. I've heard, a bunch of things, but I have the Wim Hof is for sure the first time I've heard someone tell me that's their answer. And I think you're also meditating. I think maybe Lala Lisa, a yoga instructor, might have said meditating, but yeah, those are really good answers. And for me, I also meditate. I don't do the Wim Hof thing. I might do it now though. I might be like, if he can do it, I can. But for meditating, like I sell windows. I design windows and put them in people's homes, and that's how I earn my money on my art. But it's a lot. Like there's a lot going on all the time. There's always stuff to be doing, and it can overwhelm you. But by calming down in the mornings, usually, as the list of shit gets longer, I don't get frantic about it. I'm there, and the list is indeed getting longer, but I'm just ticking them off one thing at a time. But if I miss meditating for a couple weeks at a time, let's say, I really realize that I'm reacting to this list getting longer. and I'm having these negative emotions that cause me to not want to interact with the list at all because it's getting longer and it makes it worse. But meditating helps me see it and identify it and clearly deal with it on time and accurately rather than sporadically and stressed out about it and all of that.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. That again, that kind of describes that feeling perfectly. Yeah, man, you got a free freezer outside. Get into the Wim Hof method.
I'm good. It's minus like 10 Celsius right now, right? So it's perfect time.
Oh my goodness.
I'm coming there and I'm living there, bro. But you have way dangerous spiders. We don't really have dangerous spiders here. You guys, your spiders are terrifying.
Yeah, but you guys have bears. I've only seen a bear once when I was in Calgary.
Yeah, but like, I don't know.
They scare the crap out of me.
Like I got a forest kind of, but we're in like cities and then forests, and the forest is maybe 300 meters by 200 meters. There's no bears in that little, you know what I mean? You have to go kind of like Barrie, like get to Toronto, drive an hour north on the highway, and that's kind of bear. You're not, don't be too afraid of the bears. But I know you guys have spiders in every single shoe, so
yeah, the joke. I mean, one kid that was on a ski lift once, of all places, in Norway, and he was like, "So, like, how do you live somewhere where everything's trying to kill you?" I was like, "It's a good question. Some places are crazier than others.
Are they?
Like up north, where like even we have questions for those people as far as where they've got box jellyfish and sharks and crocodiles. We don't have crocodiles where we are. We're too far south."
Right.
But for those sort of people, you're like, oh, how do you?
Yeah, because
we're beautiful country.
Where you're at, the further south, the colder, right?
Yep, further south, a bit colder. Yeah, East Coast overall pretty warm, so to speak. And it gets colder the further if you keep tracking around the coastline.
So you're actually at like not a very dangerous part of Australia.
No, we got sharks and spiders. We have a lot of snakes, but it's just what you grow up with. It's the same way that
fair enough.
Grew up with, bears and wolves and stuff. If they lived, on the edge of actual big, national parks and stuff like that, it'd be the same thing. I'm like, I don't know. That gives me shivers just thinking about it. So
that's funny, man. Yeah, I've been to cottages and stuff up in the forest, and it's pretty wild. Your ears like perk up with any cracking or creaking around you with the flashlight. You're flying around. It is what it is, man. Dude, I really appreciate you taking the time. I look forward to hearing Searching for Freedom. March 19th, people can get it at ziggyalberts.com. Is it a com?
That's right.
Not .au. You didn't do the patriotic thing.
We got .com.
You got .com. I like that. That's awesome. And they can, same thing with your poetry book. They can check it out. Wait,
That's exactly right.
What's it called?
Brainwaves.
Brainwaves. That's right. And it's got the really cool thing. I like the thumbprint in the tree. It shows us we're all connected, right?
And yeah, absolutely. And if people want to kind of, want to go to Ziggy Alberts just on Instagram or on Facebook, they'll also get to kind of see a bigger picture of the whole story kind of thing, Yeah, I love that. Just come jump on board.
Check it out. This guy's got really cool tunes, really cool folk vibe. Kind of like to me, now artists sometimes take it offensively when I tell them who they sound like. To me, it was like a mix of a Jack Johnson and obviously the Ed Sheeran like smashed into one, but not the pop Ed Sheeran, kind of like 5 years ago, like folk. That's the sound that I was like, oh, I really like this, and I started listening through, and you have a Bon Iver kind of sound of harmonies in the background. Like, it's really cool. I like your songs, man. I do.
Those are three of like the most incredible artists that really I've got so much. I mean, either grew up listening or have huge rapport for. People do get offended, but for me, if anyone's got some positive comparison to make, it's like, thanks, that's awesome. Those guys are incredible. So I'll chuck that feather in my cap.
Yeah, do it, man. You can say Carter from Drivewire says I sound like these people. Put it on your album or something. Like, oh, you have my full endorsement, brother.
Described as.
Well, listen, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to end the recording here in a second. I have a question to ask you off air, so I'm not going to hang up, but I'm going to stop recording. But check this guy out. This is Ziggy Alberts. He's a really, really cool folk artist, and he's got a lot to learn. So check him out, ziggyalberts.com, especially March 19th for his new album coming out, Searching For.